Hello. So welcome to this talk today, which is with a friend and astrologer, Louise Edington, who now has written her third book and published her third book. Those books, do you want to show them, Louise?
My first, Modern Astrology. My second, A Complete Guide to Astrology. This one is a bestseller in astrology on Amazon. And my newest one, The Complete Guide to Tarot and Astrology. So.
Wonderful. Yeah, I've read cover to cover the second one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So today, Louise and I are going to be talking about something I don't know very much about, which is Chariklo, who is an archetype and an astronomical body in our cosmos. So Louise, can you just start out by telling us what is Chariklo?
Well, Chariklo is officially designated as a centaur, one of the many centaurs out there. There are four kind of main centaurs there that people work with. Chiron, the original, discovered in 1977, and then Chariklo and Pholus and Nessus. She is an interesting astrological being, though, because she actually has rings and she orbits between the orbits of Saturn and Uranus. So I find it interesting that she kind of came to me, at least. I know other Melanie Reinhardt, for example, and my friend Shelley Entine have been working with her for longer, but she came to me while she's back into Aquarius, and we've had the Saturn-Uranus square happening, in which are the traditional and modern rulers of the sign of Aquarius. So I'll talk to kind of all of that. But yeah, she was discovered in 1997, and we'll have a little look at her discovery chart. So do you want me to kind of go into kind of what her orbit's about 62 years, by the way. So she also came to me while I was having my Chariklo return, because I'm one of the older speakers in this symposium, I think. Not the oldest, no. But one of the older ones.
No, and, the 90 actually. So you're
wow. But I'm realizing that most people have heard of the Chiron return around the age of 51. I'm finding that the Chariklo return is probably just as important, and a lot of people, as we age, we kind of get dismissed a little bit. It's not been looked at before, so I'll probably talk a little bit about all of that. Astrologically, I'll talk about her meaning, and also we're going to look at the USA's chart and her discovery chart, because they have some amazing things going on. But she's come into our awareness. As I said, she was discovered in 97, and really not many people were talking about her, and mythologically there's not much about her, and I say her even though she was a nymph and not human. So it's like she's just a figure, and I think it could be male or female, to be quite honest, in my opinion, as I think Chiron could be, because Chiron is half horse, half human. I know we've used the terms she and he, but anyway, we'll move on from there. You ask away and I'll just rap about everything.
Yeah. Well, maybe can we start with what is the mythology around Chariklo and the basic stories that we do have?
Yeah, the very basic. There's so little out there, but she was said to be a nymph, and she and Chiron kind of saw each other from, he was trotting along being his half man, half horse, and she was in the water being a water nymph, and they spied each other and fell in love, and became one of the kind of Eros Gamos couples of mythology, if you like, bringing together the divine masculine and divine feminine. And She was said to be an adopter of kind of waifs and strays, children that were unwanted. She was also said to be the companion of Pallas Athena. So I kind of have a theory that the two worked as a team to kind of mentor the other archetypes, the gods and goddesses, as they were growing. That's my own theory. Some stories of her myths say that she shapeshifted from being a nymph to being a centaur to be with Chiron, but that's not in all the myths. But there's obviously a connection between nymphs and centaurs in mythology, because Chiron's mother was a nymph. So, you know, they kind of all mingled. But, you know, since I think of them all as really representing parts of us, I don't think the exact details of the myth really matter that much. So
yeah. So then what significance do you feel about her or it or they?
astrologically?
Logically, yeah. Mhm.
Well, her name literally means spinning grace, and she is really a space holder for transformation and for growth. She, I see her very visually. I work with all the planets. I have kind of images of them all in my head. And she's kind of an elder figure who I picture this figure very kind of translucent, almost with that nymph-like quality, but an elder. And I picture this figure both spinning and weaving and telling oral traditions at the same time, kind of just teaching all the memories of the past. She's associated with ancestral healing, so I think her discovery has a lot to do with there's a lot of interest now clearly in ancestral healing, and has been since her discovery, and I think she's a lot to do with that. She's also checks notes. She's also about kind of selfless service, holding sacred space, as I said. She's also got a midwife or doula kind of quality for both birth and death, and providing invisible support, bearing witness, allowing magic to unfold. She's very patient, very abiding. I think it's Melanie Reinhardt who really said that, you know, she's a kind of a container in which the work of the soul is facilitated. And there's also a theme of boundaries, according to Melanie Reinhardt, which makes sense with her kind of being between the orbits of Saturn and Uranus. She kind of touches on both because her orbit's not exactly around. She doesn't cross either, but I think that's kind of covered a lot of the energy. But it is deeply yin energy, you know, not to get all, you know, it's, and which we have in all of us, of course, no matter how we identify. But it's really this silent power of this real receptive kind of yin or night energy, as I talk about in my second book. So
That's all really fascinating, because I was mentioning before we started recording that she's close, conjunct-ish to my South Node, Venus, and my Chiron, all in Aries in my 8th house. And every single thing you just mentioned is deeply how I experience myself. I mean,
yeah, right.
Holder of space, midwife to birth and death. I studied to be a doula. You know, and I could go on, but that's, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. She's in my second house in Aquarius, and she's aspecting a few things in my chart. And I've actually done, well, I'm a trained shamanic practitioner, and I've done some death doula work myself as well. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Cool. So where do you want to go from here? Do you want to look at her discovery chart maybe?
I'd love to look at her discovery chart, and I'll talk more about her as we look at it. It's the most beautiful chart I've ever seen in my life, to be quite honest. Look at this. So she was discovered February the 15th, 1997, which was actually a really huge year for me, which really makes sense because she was discovered at 6 degrees of Leo, which is opposing my own Chariklo placement, and a lot unfolded from that time. But look at this pattern. We've got the Star of David,
Wow.
almost exact at 5 and 6 degrees. Okay, if you look around the chart, we've got so much in Aquarius at 5 and 6 degrees. We have Ceres and Jupiter and Uranus opposing her discovery point. Wow. I know and we've got a mystic rectangle with all this stuff at 5 degrees as well. it's kind of like astounding. But one other thing I want to mention before we dive into the details of it is that I'm not exactly sure of the exact date, but Chiron actually crosses the orbit of Saturn. And not long before her discovery, before his wife's discovery or his partner's discovery, whichever you want to call it, he crossed the orbit of Saturn, came within Saturn's orbit at 6 degrees of Leo, which is the discovery degree of Chariklo. Wow. It feels to me, because the centaurs bring in new energy, they are bringing in kind of this wild card healing energy, this shamanic kind of real, you've got to change kind of energy since their discovery, in my opinion. As all these, a lot of these trans-Neptunian objects as well are doing the same thing. But the centaurs particularly are bringing in this kind of, I'm going to shake it all up and we're going to change. Or you're going to change. We're bringing the change within you. So, to kind of look at the chart a little bit. She was discovered in Tucson, but we set the time for universal time. And with that time, she has Virgo rising and a north node at 29 degrees Virgo, sorry?
That's my exact rising degree, just FYI.
What, the 11?
11 Virgo, yeah.
Oh, there you go. You're going to go, oh my God. So she's obviously coming to you today. Yeah. But Virgo, to my mind, is the priestess energy, if you want to talk in kind of archetypes. And again, we have that within all of us, and it's the priestess energy has been rejected, ignored, for centuries and centuries under the patriarchal structures we live under. And again, we all have that within us, whether we identify as male or female. The patriarchy has damaged all of us. And here she is with an 11 degree ascendant, so it's kind of a master number, a gateway. And then the north node at another 11, 29, 11. I always look at the numbers too, of Virgo. And she is bringing in this, she embodies the priestess archetype as well, to my mind, really. The priestesses of ancient times were less hierarchical. They were more, they would sit in circle. They didn't kind of tell people what to do. They just kind of facilitated people's healing and so on and so forth. And this is what she's bringing back in to my mind. So yeah, do you have any comments on her chart?
Not on the chart specifically. I'm just thinking, and we can maybe touch on later.
All of it. Yeah.
In general, her energy, the idea of the space holding is so powerful to me. It feels, again, I think this is a bigger topic, but it feels like so much of what our world is needing is not so much, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but there are different ways of helping the world or entities to heal, right? And so, for example, I used to be a clinical social worker, which is very hands-on. It's very, you get in the muck and you directly support and directly help hold someone's hand to help them change. And one thing that over the past several years, as I moved away from doing social work, that I was told by the spirit world, for me at least, was that they said, back way off and just hold this, like literally hold the space of infinity for the healing to happen. And they said, doing social work and hands-on help isn't bad. That's not a bad thing, but your role, specifically talking to me, is to just literally hold the space. So I don't know if that's really a reflection of just what is right for me in this moment in my life, but I don't think it's only me. I think there is this really powerful, again, the space holding actually in a certain way allows more transformation and more healing on certain levels than the direct, one-on-one holding their hand kind of a thing.
I agree. And I think a lot of therapeutic work is moving that way to kind of more space holding work, and perhaps helping people to uncover what their needs are and how they but it's more kind of holding space for them for their own healing. So anyway, fascinating. I know, it really is to me, and it's come through for me. I was as I said, I'm a trained shamanic practitioner, and I was trained to do soul retrieval for people, and that only the practitioner could do it. I don't call myself a shaman, by the way, not. But I actually prefer to kind of guide people to do it themselves and discover it within themselves and hold that space, as you say, to open up the container for people when I do that work. And I think more and more of us are being called to do that. So and just this shape, a mystic rectangle and a Star of David, it's so healing, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's kind of bringing in a new paradigm. And just some comments, her Chiron, who is her partner or their partner, whichever way you want to say it, they work together, is opposing Juno. So the marriage, the Eros Gamos asteroid, as I call it, so that it's bringing together this sacred marriage of healing the polarities, in my opinion, of all our separation, of all the what's masculine, what's feminine. There are everything. Even in gender, there are shades of gender. Whether you identify as a female or a male or non-binary or whatever, there's shades of in between. There's no such thing as just two. And I know we said we might go into that. Clearly, I'm going into it further. I just feel like this chart heals a lot of the polarities that we have, draws together all the opposites. I don't know how much you've studied about kind of the history of astrology. A lot of it was based on this table of opposites. Everything's opposite. But whereas we have to bring things together, the moon and Pluto, mother, grandmother energy, draw them into the middle. It's just, this draws everything in this beautiful healing story, in my opinion. So.
Right. Absolutely beautiful. And it's not only, to me, when I see the energy of the chart with that star there, it's not just that the energy is like collapsing toward the center, it's that it's also opening up. There's almost a two-dimensional quality to it. It's so magical.
It is. And it does interest me that there's so much in Aquarius with, and I know signs and ages are different, but we are moving or moved into or whatever into the age of Aquarius, and we've got a lot of Aquarius energy activated right now, and we are moving into this time of figuring out all these Saturn Uranus energies. I don't want to get too political, but we are in many ways, you know, in so many ways in this world. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and
Yeah.
specifically regarding gender and sexuality,
Yeah.
that the symposium is about.
Yeah, exactly. And Aquarius,
Yep.
I see as, and I talk about it a lot in that second book. I talk about Aquarius energy being kind of wave theory, or all of these, you know, new scientific theories about how everything is connected and just on this fluid kind of line, instead of everything opposing each other. And that's how I see this Aquarius energy, and she's got so much of it. It's just quite astounding to my mind. So
And so currently she's at 8 degrees of Aquarius, which is sort of opposing where she was when she was discovered, and
she
right
is,
Mercury
yeah,
was when she was discovered.
she's going through her full moon, if you like, from her discovery point.
Wow.
And yeah, and she's going to go through it again. She's been over the 6-degree Aquarius point, and in fact I can just put in the transits. So she's currently, as you said, at 8 degrees Aquarius, but she will go retrograde on May the 12th. We're recording, I don't know when this is going out, we're recording it before May the 12th. And she's going to go back to 4 Aquarius. So she's going to go back over that point, back over Jupiter, back over Uranus, and back over Ceres, who is at her kind of full moon point. She's a Ceres, and Ceres I see as one of these newer energies that's also bringing in the healing. I don't want to, I've done whole presentations on Ceres as well, but I actually see Ceres as kind of a missing personal planet, because she's just inside the asteroid belt, and she's
large.
what?
She's
She's
large.
large. She's the largest asteroid. Yeah. Yeah. And so it is what we would call archetypally all this divine feminine energy being brought in. But I think it's to bring in a balance, so we can bring all of this together, to bring this healing of all this separation.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so to look at some other things, you know, that's happening right now. Pluto is on the Neptune of Chariklo in the chart. And that's obviously trine her north node too. So Pluto is kind of playing his part in bringing in all this change as well. And she's been activated over and over again, to be quite honest. So Uranus is right now, and Mercury was conjunct Uranus just yesterday as we're recording this, on the Sedna in her chart, which is one of the trans-Neptunian objects that is bringing in real, not just generational change, but and not even just change of the ages, because Sedna's cycle is about 11,400 years. It's all connected with the big changes we're going through in humanity, to my mind.
Yeah, Heather Ensworth's talk actually is going to be about the precessional changes of the ages and Sedna and other faraway beings.
That will tie in nicely with this.
I know, it's perfect. It's really perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry, the other thing I'm noticing, if I'm visualizing this correctly in my mind, Chariklo is also going to be squaring the nodes of the moon. It looks like.
Yes.
The next few months.
She will. Well, yeah, it'll be a bit longer than the next few months. I think then the node, they don't come together probably till next year, but it's not that long away. I could actually look when, but in fact, do you want me to quickly look? let's look. I love doing this stuff. So she's going to square the north node. Let's quickly look. Come on, computer.
How long is her retrograde period?
She will be retrograde till October the 14th, so 5 months.
Oh, next January. Okay, cool.
Yeah, January 2023. The nodes will actually have come back to meet her, because she'll only be back at 8 degrees by then, because she's got quite a slow orbit. So yeah, she's bringing in the changes.
Yeah, I mean, that's just so beautiful and so interesting. And then when, okay, so then Pluto next year is gonna peek into Aquarius briefly,
Mhm.
and she'll still be in a, but Pluto, she and Pluto won't actually meet, I'm assuming, because on, I'm guessing.
Pluto will catch. No, they won't meet. No, because she's faster moving than him.
Yeah.
They will eventually, because she'll catch up to him.
Eventually.
I can't. And
Yeah.
actually, let me show you one other thing. They were actually conjunct, because we just have, and I think Melanie Reinhardt has mentioned this in one of her many videos about the subject. November the 25th, 2019, Chariklo, or Chariklo, however you say it, was conjunct Pluto at 21 Capricorn, just
Wow.
before all of that major,
Yes.
yes, the major conjunction, January the 12th, 2020, I'm talking about. That was at 22 Capricorn, so that's when those two last met. So she's very much connected with all the stuff we've had going on about the pandemic and all the crazy religious differences and political differences and chaos that we've got. She's definitely connected with all of that.
That's almost going to make me cry. I mean, that is an energy that I have. I mean, like I said, I don't know much about her at all.
Mhm.
You're teaching me a lot. And I feel like, I mean, clearly when we look at her placement over the last 2 years and moving forward, she's right in there with these Capricorn Aquarian energies that have been so deep and intense and moving us along.
I feel like no energy is all good and bad, and in any respect. I know we have so-called malefics and benefics, but I don't see them really as that way. I think she's showing us where we need to heal, where we need to bring in the healing. She's holding that space for us, but she's also kind of saying, here, this is where everything's just out of whack, and where you need to really look and create a new story, like ecologically, politically, in every way, I would say. Socially. Yeah.
How would you, I mean, I don't know how easy this question would be to answer, but how would you discuss sort of the interplay between the energies of Chariklo and Eris? They're obviously very different, but it seems like they're both playing into the same storyline of our world right now. I mean, in their own ways. I mean, everything is, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I see Eris more as the I call her the shit stirrer. She and I've called her the revealer of artifice and the puller down of picket fences. She's kind of the more angry energy of saying, look, this is what's screwed up in your world, and she kind of throws that apple in and says, you need to go and sort this out. Whereas Chariklo's a bit more healery, a bit more kind of saying, yeah, this is what's wrong, and I'm going to hold the space for your transformation collectively. Because I do think we have the potential for it to change, and I keep looking for it, and I do see signs of it that we may change in time before we destroy our home and move into a more egalitarian society, which is very Aquarius. So,
And it's just interesting to me when I feel into, again, the energy of Eris versus the Chariklo. I mean, Eris is so slow. It's like she's just boom. She's just there in Aries, you know.
Oh yeah.
She's holding her ground.
Yeah, oh yes, she is.
Yeah.
And she very much represents kind of the marginalized, the outsider, the people who've been kept out and things like that. Whereas Chariklo is more the priestess who kind of holds the space for all those people instead of representing those people.
Right. And I can personally relate to both so strongly. I absolutely have the, you know, we all have all of them, but I can just say it's very front and center in my consciousness, both of those parts of me.
Yeah. Now I'd love to quickly look at the USA chart.
Yes, I was just about to say
if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's great.
And you know, I know we're global, and there's a lot more to her than just the politics. But before I show it, I will say, you know, that USA has been kind of the world superpower. It's been called that, and I do believe that things began to change. 1997, when Chariklo was discovered, Bill Clinton just got his second term, and to talk in just terms of the USA, you know, the equality gap has got bigger since then. The political divide has got bigger since then. You know, we've had scandals. Before that, things were pretty, you know, people could work together. So anyway, but also on the world stage, we think of the USA. I just want to show you something though. I'm going to swap them around, put the USA in the middle. I've used the Sibley chart because I know there's a big argument, but I think this one works in many ways. And we know we're having the Pluto return, but look where the South Node and the North Node of the USA are. On the north, Chariklo was discovered on the North Node of the USA, and the South Node, and now is transiting the South Node because she's having her opposition from the delivery point.
Wow. That is fascinating,
isn't it? And I've talked about it. I have a membership community. I've talked about it quite a bit with them. But I also talked about it. I did an interview with a friend, Shelley Edington, who's written a book on or a chapter on Chariklo for a book that's coming out this summer on the centaurs. And you know, I'll be sharing that when it comes out. But I feel that these transits over the South Node of the USA, and particularly the fact that Chariklo is going back and forth over it now, as in her opposition, is holding space for the USA to heal its problems.
Wow.
Showing us what's wrong. And you know, I said with Shelley that I'm kind of hoping that she's holding the space for us to live up to the promise of what we were, which is clearly not being lived out very well right now. So
right, absolutely. And again, you know, to me, the United States, not only you and I both were not born in the United States. We both happen to be living in the United States. We're both citizens of the United States now, right?
Yes.
But I was born in Thailand, and I grew up in Bangladesh, Pakistan, Kenya, and the United States. And so we're both pretty internationally steeped humans. And so I'm saying this from that perspective. I mean, I am a citizen of the United States. I do live in the United States, but I really do also think of the United States as being a metaphor of colonialism in a sense.
Yes.
So when I look at the US chart, I'm not just looking at the birth, quote unquote, birth of the United States of America. I'm looking at an energetic that reverberates this colonialist idealism and evil, both.
Absolutely. I agree, you know, and I don't want to go in depth into the chart of the USA. It's more kind of about what's happening now with and how the discovery chart activated it. Because anybody who's studied any history of the USA, you know, the last 25 years, really, since 1997, the USA has become more of a bit of a bully on the world stage, if you like, and an interventionist and all kinds of things like that. And we've had all the problems coming up even more recently with the Chariklo or Chariklo opposition approaching of the racial dynamics and the Black Lives Matter movement and the gender politics, of course, which is well up right now. So all of that's being highlighted, and because it's in the second house, though, all these transits, I kind of do like the transits we have now crossing the South Node, and as well as with the Pluto return, I do think the USA has an opportunity to kind of respond differently and to bring that healing. And I think Chariklo is holding that space for that healing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, look where the Chariklo is in in the USA's chart. So when she moves up to 22 Aquarius, the USA will have another Chariklo return as well. So we've got that coming up. So
wow. Yeah, well, again, yeah, to me, it just feels like, again, the energetic of the United States is a reflection of something in our collective consciousness.
Oh,
just this country, you know, and so when Chariklo is holding the space for the United States to step up into its potential, I guess you could say, it's I feel like it's as you're talking, to me it feels like she's holding space for humanity to come into its actually its healing potential, or its, you know.
I completely agree, and I would invite people, you know, to think about 1997, to move just off the USA. I just couldn't get past the nodes thing, so I thought I have to share this. So we'll just go back to the original chart to her discovery point at 6 Leo was the year that Princess Diana died, of course, and that created changes in the royal family, where they changed the line of succession so that women could actually become queen if they were the eldest born. And and you know, as a British born person, that's huge. The royal family, which is Leo, has changed tremendously since 1997, and become a more healing kind of container, if you like. I think there's more changes to come. Now we're on the kind of full moon of Chariklo's discovery. I think it could, who knows, bring the end of it. But that's all tied in with that colonialism and inequality as well. You know, there's so many layers to this because we were the colonialists, and it talks about that ancestral healing part of it as well. So
Huge. And I mean, this is maybe just pop culture, but pop culture is what is popular. So, you know, I'm thinking of like the Crown, the show, and it certainly shaped some of my views of.
I've never watched it.
You haven't? Oh
no.
It's interesting for sure. I mean,
I feel like I lived it. I don't need to see Margaret Thatcher again. So.
No, I mean, we don't need to talk about the Crown, but no, just in terms of this idea of questioning colonialism and really deciding to be done with it, you know. Part of what watching the Crown did for me also was help me reflect on my own experiences, having grown up in when I lived not in the United States. I was obviously white. I was considered very, very, very wealthy, even though by United States standards, I'm not at all.
Yeah.
But I grew up as a child almost like a princess. That was my experience of myself. Not that I thought I was a princess, but that's how I got treated when I lived in other countries. And so when I watched The Crown, it was really actually helpful to me to reflect on my own colonialized sense of myself, if that makes sense. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And it helped me reflect on, okay, wait, who benefits from this, from the monarchy existing, let's say, right? And my conclusion, I mean, my own tiny little conclusion is nobody, including the queen. She's, I wouldn't want to be her.
No, me neither.
No way. Yeah. And so it was actually, to me, a pretty healing experience to watch it, because it helped me unearth and re-see myself and my own role in perpetuating or choosing not to perpetuate colonialist ways of being, even in just tiny subtle things that I grew up doing. Anyway, so just everything you're saying feels really relevant. Yeah.
And you know, clearly I was born in the UK and I grew up in the UK, and I was very working class, but I was steeped in the colonial attitude. I won't tell you the things I heard said about people of non-white British upbringing, shall we say, when I was growing up. And I look back now and I was like, oh, I don't remember ever saying it. I've always been a bit of a rebel and a questioner. So, but I remember hearing it from people who were just steeped in it and just didn't think of it. So it's funny that I've come to live in the US, and which kind of is a big representation of basically white colonialism, white Protestant colonialism, more specifically. Yeah, the WASPs. And so another interesting thing about the Chariklo chart is that Sedna's at 13 Taurus. Now I can't remember whether it's the Jamestown chart when the first slaves landed, or the Juneteenth chart when slavery finally properly ended. I think it's the Juneteenth chart, but the Pluto of that chart is at 13 Taurus, where Sedna is in this chart.
Wow.
There's so much happening with the USA's, chart in all of this. To the fact, if we use the Sibley chart, the Sibley ascendant squares the ascendant of this. There's just, so much, everything. If I put the USA's chart back in the middle, we can, look at there's the South Node. Oh, there's the Moon as well. Thanks to Shelley and team for pointing this out. And when I talked with her on my podcast, the Moon being the people, the Sun of that chart is on that. So, and on the Pallas Athena, the old wise owl, bringing problems solving in, hopefully. And really the Moon is on Uranus, so it's like there's so many hits. It's wow. Yeah, I think she is bringing in this potential for healing, and to look at what's going on. I think it's highlighting the separation first of all, before to be able to heal it. I kind of often think the shadow has to be brought to the surface, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I have a question that sort of slightly changes the topic, but is there anything else?
Yeah. Nope. I'll stop the share for now. Yeah. I'm happy to talk about anything.
Cool. So when you're looking at, let's say, an individual's chart, like you're doing a reading with somebody, how do you bring in Chariklo, or how do you, when you notice it, what are you feeling with that or looking at with that?
Yeah, I see her. I only talk about her if she stands out. by transit or major aspects if she seems really prominent in the chart. And I do look at her as that space holder energy, whether I'm doing a chart for a male or a female or an event even. And if she's very prominent or being activated by transit, I see her as activating that kind of priestess space holder energy, and the ability to bring the healing, which is why I think many of us individually don't really kind of step into it until this Chariklo return, a bit like the Chiron returns, kind of the wound comes up and we find the point of healing, and we, and that's not to dismiss any younger people. I'm not saying theirs can't be activated by transit, but I've noticed that since she started really speaking to me, I've been getting a lot of clients having their Chariklo return, and they are feeling it. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And what do they tend to feel? What do they talk about that you would say is related?
They're feeling the need to kind of step into this being more this vessel of kind of loving healing, and in whatever part of their life, but starting with themselves. And then we'd look at the individual placement of it in the chart, of course, to see what sign it's in, what house it's in, and what that might represent and how that's being really activated in their chart. So
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Is there anything else in general that you feel like is important to speak to?
Let me have a quick look at my notes. I don't think there is really. Just, I think to emphasize that she is really literally kind of a doula or midwife kind of energy, as well as that space holder, that she can really, if you kind of tune into her in your own chart and collectively, you can feel that pull to kind of assist the birth of your own healing and of the collective. So that's how it feels to me. I've felt such a, I'm still really going through my Chariklo return, and I've shifted so much in what I share and what I post. It feels like I've got to be a part of the solution now, not a part of the problem, which I was born into. So.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, please tell us where we can find you. And, what you're offering and so this symposium is running from June 14th to June 21st. So people will be seeing your talk around then. And
and Chariklo will be retrograde then.
Oh
yeah. So
what would you like? Yeah, what would you like us to know?
Well, I would really, before I tell everybody where they can find me, I would encourage people to just sit with, I'm a great believer in embodying the energies of the chart and feeling into them, which is where I use a lot of my shamanic practices. And with my membership, I do journey work to planets and planetary bodies so that people kind of feel it. So I would encourage people to look at Chariklo in their own chart, or if they don't know their own chart, to just sit with the energy of it and kind of meditate on and journal on it and see what they feel it means for them and collectively as a whole, about how we can each be space holders for creating a better world, shall we say. Yeah.
And even the question, what does space holding even feel like, or what does that mean?
Yeah.
I think we are so conditioned to, again, do, get in there and change it and do something, and which is great and has its place. And then there's this other energetic of holding and allowing, like I'm even thinking of birth, right? I had two babies. One was a home birth, one was a planned C-section. I've been through the spectrum.
Me too. Yeah.
And I was trained to be a doula, etc. So So I have this pretty strong sense of what it means to give birth. And I know absolutely there are times when intervention is needed, you know, the doctor or the midwife or whoever needs to just reach in, help the baby come out, like, you know, need to have a C-section. There is absolutely that reality. And one of the things that was so profound for me as a mother carrying a baby in me was learning that with the contractions, it's not just that the baby's getting pushed out, is that actually the baby even naturally is pushing. Well, the baby and the mother's body together know, in general, again, in general,
Yes.
There's this natural knowledge and wisdom of the baby and the mother birthing together, and the role of the midwife or the whatever, the doctor, is to hold the space for the natural knowing to work itself. And then if they need to, they do step in. But you know, it's just a really beautiful reality that the holding of the space is often all that's needed, and that holding of the space, I feel like, allows for the innate wisdom to do what it knows how to do.
And I think you can extrapolate that to humanity, basically, or the world. Yeah, exactly. You know, we're birthing a new paradigm, literally, and where is it necessary to just kind of hold space and tune in to being really in alignment with the cycles of seasons, of growth, of rebirth of the earth, of the planet, and also to hold space for bringing people together. But then also, where is it necessary to step in and have a little intervention and a little help as well? Yeah, I think so. The whole birth thing does definitely fit both and fits many things. You know, we're trying to birth a more egalitarian society. Well, some of us are, and and one example, if you've got time before I go, is that I'm probably, you know, I'm going back to my own ancestral healing. I lived in a war zone in Northern Ireland in the 70s when Chiron was discovered, and it was Catholics and Protestants, you know, fighting, like murdering each other and so on and so forth. And consequently, I rejected any form of religion for many, many years. Well, since my Chariklo return, I found myself in a group that's totally non-denominational, totally non-hierarchical. I've explored Buddhism and things and found them not right for me. Not that there's anything wrong with them. Part of it was right for me, but I've been praying the rosary. I'm like a rosary now. And it's if anybody wants to join, it's called the Way of the Rose. It's a free Facebook group, and they just do these circles of people, all genders, all ages, all, you know, there's non-binary, there's trans, there's men, there's women, there's sitting in circle, just praying the rosary to just tune into this energy of the divine, whatever the divine is. So that's been a big change for me.
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
and it I was having a thought that's tangentially related to what you're saying. To say it. Also, there's this, I feel like it's important to distinguish the sense of holding space, and even like being in prayer with a rosary, I feel like is in a certain way of a holding of space, versus doing nothing, right? Like holding space can seem like it's passive and a nothingness, but it's not. It's very active. I mean, it's an act. It is a definite presence and action.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Very distinctly different from being checked out or being over there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is, if anything, it's more connected with that wave energy that I talked about with the Aquarius, you know?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, my website is louiseedington.com, LouiseEdington. And I'm Cosmic Owl Astrology everywhere on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I also have a podcast that's on my YouTube channel, and weirdly, the Weirdly Cosmic podcast on Audible, you know, and Spotify and all those kind of things as well. I do a new and full moon ones, and I do some interviews occasionally. And I'm really easy to find because I'm always I post a lot of content on social media. I also write on medium.com, Cosmic Owl Astrology again. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus your books on Amazon.
Oh yes, my books are on Amazon and at all indie stores as well. But if you buy from anywhere else, I do appreciate Amazon reviews because that gets them more visible. Even if you're not a big Amazon supporter, it's just the way it works.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Yeah. Any last thought or?
Oh, just you know, I just tune into the energy of these centaurs. I'm currently exploring Pholus and Nessus as well, as they show up in the energy, and I don't know enough about them to do a whole interview about them yet, but I do know that Pholus first spoke to me the day I listened to Melanie Reinhardt podcast interview again, when Pholus was on my first house Saturn in Capricorn to the very minute.
Wow.
they just show up when something is activated in your chart. So tune into these energies. They're bringing in the new paradigm, in my opinion. So
yeah, it's so powerful. Thank you so much. I clearly needed to hear all of this today, and I am sure so many others will feel amazed, just like I do.
And I also think Chariklo is a teamwork, the weaving, the spinning of stories. And I have to credit Melanie Reinhardt, who I've mentioned, and Shelley Entine, my friend, for teaching me a lot of this stuff about Chariklo.
Wonderful. And Melanie Reinhardt does have a book on the centaurs, right?
She does, yeah.
If people want
to, yeah. She wrote 2 or 3 books, and yeah, she's kind of the queen of the centaurs, shall we say?
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Louise.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.